At my sister Rachel's wedding, I found myself tucked away at a side table, the kind usually reserved for vendors and helpers. I glanced down at my name tag and had to blink twice. In silver letters, printed bold and proud, it read, Event Support. I chuckled to myself. Not out of amusement, but that kind of dry, tight-lipped smile you make when something finally clicks, and it clicks the wrong way. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the seating chart, and without saying a word, I logged into my banking app. Just like that, I started the process to reverse the $8,900 I had fronted for the venue deposit. By the time the sun started to sink over the lake, the manager stepped forward and made an announcement no one expected. Final payment declined. The venue is closing. The place went still. My mom spun around, voice sharp, asking, "What happened?" I looked her in the eyes and said plainly, "I supported the event." That was all I gave her. I'd also left Rachel an envelope, a thick one. She hadn't opened it yet, and honestly, I knew she wouldn't be ready for what was inside. I stood there for half a minute, staring at that fancy card stock like maybe I'd misread something. But no, it was right there. My name in capital letters, listed right alongside DJ, florist, and two folks from catering. The brother of the bride. The guy who shelled out nearly $9,000 for the venue. Apparently, now just another piece of the hired help. Behind me, laughter spilled from the patio. Someone popped a champagne bottle. Camera flashes lit up the dusk like fireflies. My mom floated near the head table, beaming in a lavender gown I later realized I had paid for. She didn't even glance my way. And I smiled again. This time, not the kind that comes from joy, but the one you wear when you're finally done pretending everything's okay. So I raised my phone again, aimed it at the chart. Then I went back to the banking app. Screen glowing in the dim light, fingers moving on autopilot, swipe, tap, enter password. Confirm reversal. $8,900. My thumb hovered over the final button for a second. Just 1 second. Then I pressed it. It wasn't always like this. There was a time, maybe 5-6 years back, when I actually believed Rachel would do the same for me. Before I realized that in our family, love, and support had started to mean transactions. Before family turned into a job title. Rachel's 3 years younger than me. She's always had that magnetic charm, the kind of girl people naturally flock to, even when she hadn't earned it. Pretty, polished, quick with compliments, and even quicker with lies. When we were kids, I looked out for her. I'd walk her home when Dad forgot to show. I paid off her credit card debt in college without asking for anything in return. I sat with her through those heavy nights after her first engagement fell apart, sometimes talking, sometimes just staying quiet so she didn't feel alone. I paid for her therapy when she said she couldn't swing it. Postponed vacations. Pushed off work opportunities. Because that's what you do, right? That's what brothers do. So when she got engaged again, this time to a real estate agent with a salesman grin and a laugh that sounded like a broken vending machine, I forced a smile and said congratulations, even though something in me tensed up. I already knew what was coming. The first ask came gently. Would you mind helping with the venue deposit? Just until we figure out the budget. I didn't even blink. I wired the $8,900. And yeah, the venue was stunning. Lakeside property, white columns, chandeliers that probably cost more than my car. This is going to be magical, Rachel said. Thank you for making it happen. That was the last time I heard a thank you. After that, my part in the wedding shifted. I wasn't a brother anymore. I became the unpaid wedding coordinator, the errand runner, the late-night counselor, the guy with the checkbook. They even sent me a PDF labeled Roles and Responsibilities. My name sat under logistics and budget. Her fiancé, Derek, started calling me the sponsor during family brunches, like I was backing some kind of charity. And my parents? They stayed quiet. My mom even giggled once. "Oh, he's just joking, sweetheart. You're such a help. We're lucky to have you." Then came the suits. I wasn't in the wedding party. Not the best man, not even a groomsman. Just a guest. No one told me that. I found out through one of Rachel's Instagram stories, a boomerang of her bridesmaids and Derek's buddies trying on tuxes. I watched it on loop, hoping maybe I was just out of frame. When I asked her about it, she shrugged. You're not really part of that circle, you know? We wanted symmetry. Symmetry. I'd paid for the damn venue, but sure, let's not mess with the visual balance. Still I showed up. I always show up. Even when I'm left out, even when I'm downgraded to background noise, I put on the suit and smile for the pictures. But the seating chart? That was the final straw. A folding chair next to the valet and a cousin who helped set up lights. Name tag, event support. When I showed it to my mom, hoping for some kind of reaction, some spark of outrage, she just nodded and said, well, you've been doing so much. Maybe it's just a mix-up. A mix-up? Sure. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. Hey, can you make sure the vendor tips are in the envelopes? Derek's super stressed. You're the best. No, please. No mention of why I was sitting with the crew instead of family. Just another favor in a growing list I never volunteered for. That's when everything just dimmed. The noise of the crowd faded. Something in my chest shifted, like a door closing. I looked out across the lake. Guests toasting. Waiters dodging through the crowd with trays. Rachel twirling on the dance floor, glowing, spinning in her dress, completely oblivious. Oblivious to the money I had just clawed back. The first sign anything had gone wrong came right around sunset. The guests were halfway through their fancy, overpriced dinners, herb-crusted salmon, truffle mashed potatoes, and little rolls that looked like they came from a magazine ad. If you're wondering what happened when the music stopped, the DJ literally froze mid-song, hands up like the cops had just walked in. Every head turned toward the tall glass doors, where the venue manager stood like a statue, stiff, pale, and clearly uncomfortable. Then his voice rang out through the sound system. Ladies and gentlemen, due to a declined payment, the venue will be shutting down in the next 30 minutes. And just like that, the room went silent. Not the kind of silence where people whisper and look around. I mean dead silence. Then all hell broke loose. What do you mean, declined? Someone yelled. Rachel let out a shriek, hiking up her wedding gown and storming toward the manager in her 6-inch heels. Derek trailed behind her, dazed and still chewing a piece of filet like the message hadn't reached his brain yet. I didn't budge. I stayed seated in my folding chair, still in the event support section, watching everything unravel like it was a movie I'd already seen in a dream. The manager tried to keep it professional. The final payment was declined, he explained calmly. We attempted to reprocess the card, but the account is locked. Per venue policy, we cannot continue under a delinquent contract. Rachel's voice cracked as she hissed, we already paid the deposit. He nodded. Yes, a business account covered the deposit several weeks ago. Then he added, that account has since reversed the charge. That's when my mom screamed, loud enough for the entire room to hear, what happened? I stood up slowly, adjusted my cufflinks, might as well look sharp for the finale, and walked toward the crowd that had gathered like spectators at a boxing match. Don't worry, I said, making sure my voice carried. I supported the event. Rachel turned to me, blinking fast. What are you even saying? What does that mean? I pulled an envelope from my jacket, sealed, untouched, her name written across the front in gold ink. I'd been waiting for this. I looked her in the eyes and said, inside this envelope is a detailed breakdown of every single thing I paid for, line by line. It also marks the moment I was officially downgraded to event support. So I decided to take back every dollar. She stared at me like I was speaking another language. Derek just stood there, mouth hanging open like he was trying to catch flies. I told you, I said gently, I'd help you build something beautiful. But you can't cut out the person who helped build the whole foundation and expect it to hold. You excluded me. That's on you. You ruined my wedding, she whispered, her voice shaky. Mascara was already streaking down her cheeks. No, I said calmly. This fell apart the moment I stopped being treated like family. A wave of gasps moved through the guests. One of the bridesmaids took a literal step back like I'd just burst into flames. Rachel's hands were trembling. You're my brother. And you, I snapped, are the one who stuck me next to the DJ and called it gratitude. Derek tried to step in, hands raised. Okay, let's just calm down. No, I cut him off sharply. You don't get to play peacemaker now. You stood there and laughed while I was made into the punchline. Don't think I didn't hear you call me her financial safety net. He blinked like he hadn't expected me to know. That was a joke, he said weakly. Well, I said, voice rising, I felt like a damn joke. To both of you. The entire room went quiet again. People weren't eating anymore. They were watching. Filming. I didn't care. I wasn't appreciated, I said to Rachel. I was expected. You didn't invite me to the rehearsal dinner. You sent me a Google Calendar alert. You didn't ask. You assigned. She shook her head, tearful. You never said anything. I laughed, dry and bitter. That's what you liked about me, right? Quiet. Reliable. Out of the way. I looked right at her. You didn't treat me like a brother. You treated me like a resource. She was crying now, but I didn't stop. I'd carried this weight for too long. You made a choice. To ignore me. To take from me. To act like I didn't matter. I paused. So I made a choice too. The venue manager tapped the mic again. 15 minutes remaining. Some guests began quietly gathering their things. Others just stood frozen in shock. That's when Derek's dad came up to me, a smug guy who'd spent half the reception bragging about his real estate portfolio. He squinted at me and said, "This is classless. You should have handled it privately." I looked him in the eye. I did, I said. I handled it with receipts. Rachel was still gripping that envelope like it might explode. She hadn't opened it yet, and she wouldn't be ready when she did. It wasn't just dollar amounts. I'd listed every request she made, every favor she forgot, every message she never answered. At the end, one bold sentence. Respect isn't free. Security started gently moving guests toward the exits. Waiters cleared plates that were only half-eaten. The DJ had already started packing his cords. Rachel collapsed into a chair, her veil slipping sideways. Derek stood behind her, still holding a half-empty champagne flute like he didn't know what to do with his hands. My mom tried to say something again, but I just raised a hand. I came here to support the event, I said. And I did. Then I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. Not when I passed through the stunned crowd. Not when the valet frantically juggled car keys for 100 people suddenly needing rides. Not even when my mother called my name again, that same cracked, confused tone she used the first time I stopped wiring money every time she said it was an emergency. I got in my car, drove out of the city until I hit some little gas station off the highway. Pulled into the lot and just sat there, staring at my cracked dashboard, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. Then I laughed. It started slow, almost like a cough. But then it rolled into something deeper. I laughed until my chest hurt, until my vision blurred with tears I didn't even know were coming. Not tears from sadness. Not anymore. Tears from finally letting go. No more biting my tongue. No more nodding through insults or funding relationships that only went one way. No more being treated like the extra in someone else's movie. For the first time in years, I felt free. That night, I slept like a corpse, dead to the world. When morning came, I finally turned on my phone. And it was like stepping into a war zone. 93 missed calls. 55 text messages. 14 voicemails. All from Rachel, Mom, Derek, even random people who'd been at the wedding. The messages were chaos. Angry, confused, hurt. How dare you embarrass her like that? Was it really worth it to ruin your own sister's wedding? You should be ashamed. I always knew you resented her. Resented? I didn't resent Rachel. I mourned her. I mourned the sister I thought I knew, the one I believed was kind, the one I believed loved me back. The girl I bought ice cream for when she cried over her first heartbreak. The one who called me, crying, when her car broke down in the snow and I drove 2 hours to get her home safe. That girl? She died a long time ago. What replaced her looked perfect on the outside, radiant, flawless in photos, but underneath was a cold truth. She smiled for the cameras and used people like stepping stones. And I had finally stopped being one of those stones. That afternoon, there was a knock at my door. It was my mom. She looked worn down, pale, not angry like I expected, more shaken. I just want to talk, she said quietly. No yelling. I didn't invite her inside right away. I stood in the doorway, letting her feel the weight of the threshold she used to cross without a second thought. Then I stepped aside. She sat on the couch like it was burning her. She hasn't left her room, she said. Rachel's broken. Derek's talking about legal action. I stopped her cold, my voice steady but icy. You're here to make me feel guilty. That well's dry. You'll have to find a new source. She flinched. I'm not here to blame you, she said finally. I'm here because I don't know what happened to our family, she trailed off. That's funny, I said, standing up and walking to my desk. I grabbed a folder I'd prepared long ago. Not because I planned a showdown, but because a part of me always knew this reckoning was coming. Inside were receipts, emails, bank statements, screenshots of messages. A copy of that itemized invoice I gave Rachel, the one she never opened. I dropped the folder on the coffee table like evidence in a trial. I gave your daughter $8,900 for her wedding, I said. Not because I had to. Because I believed I was helping family. I pulled out a screenshot of a text Rachel sent to a mutual friend. He always gives in when I ask. She played on my emotions, even through texts. Mom stared at the folder, silent. She planned the whole event support, humiliation. To put me in my place, I said. You didn't know that, did you? No, she whispered. But you let it happen. You always let it happen. Every time Rachel disrespected me, ignored me, made jokes at my expense, my mom stayed silent. Her hands trembled in her lap. I told you not to worry, she said. It was just for symmetry. You understood. I laughed, bitter, tush. She knew exactly what she was doing. And you backed her up. The room went quiet. I never thought you'd actually pull the payment, Mom said finally. You're always so dependable. I shot her a sharp look. Reliable no matter what. Another silence. Then she surprised me. I told her not to push you, she whispered. I told Rachel she was pushing too far, that you'd break. My stomach dropped. She said you wouldn't, Mom added. Said you're addicted to being the martyr. That you needed to be reminded of your place. Those words hit me like a brick. I sat down slowly. She said that. Mom nodded. She learned it somewhere. I spoke quieter now. That kind of entitlement. She didn't answer, because she knew the truth. She got up slowly and walked to the door. Then she paused. She'll never forgive you, she said. I'm not waiting for forgiveness, I said. I'm celebrating my escape. After she left, I felt numb. Not empty, just done. But the story didn't end there. 2 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. Hi, this is Leah. I used to be engaged to Derek. Can we talk? Her name hit me like a slap. Derek's ex, the one Rachel always mocked as unstable. The one no one was allowed to mention after the engagement. We met for coffee the next day. Leah brought a folder of her own. Messages. Emails. Photos. Voice notes. She'd been quietly collecting proof for years. Rachel and Derek had been seeing each other while he was still engaged to Leah. Rachel had pretended to be Leah in emails, sent fake messages from burner accounts, planted evidence to make it look like Leah was cheating, all to destroy her relationship and take her place. I thought I was crazy, Leah told me. But I wasn't. She puts herself first, even when it hurts everyone else. And she doesn't care who gets hurt. My blood ran cold. I wasn't the only one Rachel used. But maybe I'm the last. I took Leah's evidence and did something I hadn't planned on. I sent it to my parents. No explanation. No apology. Just the truth. What they do with it now, that's their problem. As for me, I'm buying a one-way ticket. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere peaceful. Free. Because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. It's been 72 days. It's been 72 days since Rachel's perfect Pinterest wedding collapsed like a cheap stage prop caught in a gust of wind. The videos blew up online. Someone uploaded footage of the venue manager shutting everything down. Another person caught my line on camera. I supported the event. That line went viral. I've seen it all over Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. Someone even made a t-shirt. Event support. Powered by boundaries. I didn't ask for the spotlight, but sometimes justice makes the loudest noise when someone finally stops whispering. The family? Rachel disappeared. Ghost mode activated. She wiped her socials clean, blocked me, and vanished. Took off to Arizona for a mental reset sabbatical. Paid for by who? I don't know. Probably Derek. Or maybe her mother-in-law, the same woman who thinks I should be locked up for publicly collapsing their sacred family tradition. But Derek? Nope, he didn't vanish. He lawyered up and sent me a letter threatening to sue for damages. I framed that letter. It hangs above my fireplace now. A trophy. Because the lawsuit never came. They couldn't prove a thing. The money I reversed? The contract? In my name. Paid with my card. Under my terms. No fraud here. Just a long overdue return to sender. You can't sue someone for taking back their dignity. My parents? That's where things got messy. My mom tried for a while, leaving voicemails dripping with carefully crafted sorrow. We're still family. Rachel's not well. Think about how this looks. But after I exposed the whole Leah Derek Rachel triangle, yeah, that scandal reached them too. The tone changed. Especially after Uncle Martin, Dad's older brother, found out and tore the family apart over Thanksgiving. Turns out Uncle Martin had loaned Rachel and Derek 10 grand 6 months earlier. They told him it was for a house down payment. It wasn't. It was for a dress. An upgraded ring. VIP entertainment. A magician. No joke. Rachel funneled the money into flashy extras for the guests. When Uncle Martin saw the screenshots Leah had collected, Derek mocking him about his money, he fired off a scathing email to the entire extended family. Subject line? Financial misuse exposed. We haven't had a family reunion since. Mom stopped calling. Dad stayed silent. Until 3 weeks ago. He showed up at my door. Unannounced. Same stiff posture. Same heavy coat. But something was different in his face. Not broken. Hollowed. He asked if he could come in. Said yes. He sat down in my old recliner. The one I almost sold when money got tight. The one he used to doze off in during Sunday football while I cooked dinner. I didn't come to make peace, he said. I came because I don't recognize this family anymore. I said nothing. Just let it hang. I used to think your silence meant weakness, he said, looking me in the eye. That you were soft. Easily controlled. And I was wrong. He really looked at me. You were the only one paying attention. I nodded slowly. What changed? I asked. He laughed, bitter. She came home. Rachel. He nodded again. For 2 days. She cried. She yelled. She demanded we help pay a deposit for a new venue so they could redo the ceremony. Like the first one didn't count. And I said no. I raised an eyebrow. That must have been hard. It was, he admitted. But you know what was harder? He paused, staring at her. And realizing. She turned out just like me. And I see now I modeled behaviors I wish I hadn't. That silenced even me. She learned to expect others to sacrifice for her comfort. I taught her that. I rewarded it. I realized too late I rewarded something I regret. He wiped his face. Not crying. Just emptying out. You were the one we should have followed. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a check. $8,900. Dated. No memo. I know it doesn't fix anything, he said. But it's yours. That wedding. Your generosity. It shouldn't have cost you a thing. I stared at it. Burn it, I said. He blinked. What? Like letting go of the part that still waited for your approval. He didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just nodded. And left. That night, I finally opened the envelope Rachel returned. The original invoice. Unopened. Smudged with what looked like mascara. Or maybe wine. Or both. Inside, beneath the itemized list, was a page I'd added last minute. 1 paragraph. Old font. Respect is not a favor. It's a minimum. And I will never again pay for proximity to people who treat me like a burden with a wallet. I folded it back up. Slid it into a new envelope. Mailed it to Leah. With a note. Keep it. You earned this more than she ever did. As for me, I stayed gone. Left the city. Found a cabin by a lake. Where mornings are quiet, the air is clean, and no one calls me for favors dressed up as obligations. I don't check social media much, but sometimes I see my meme pop back up. Supported the event. It's funny. What started as a quiet jab has become a banner. People write to me. Strangers. They say things like, "I quit my toxic job and used your line as my resignation. Your story gave me the courage to set boundaries with my family. I was event support for 10 years. No more." Turns out I wasn't alone. Turns out there are millions of us. The givers. The fixers. The emotionally extorted. We bleed for people who never say thanks and call it love. And we think if we just do more, give more, shrink more, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally see us. But they don't. Not until we stop playing the roles they wrote for us. I'm done being the background music to someone else's spotlight. I am not event support. I am the event. And if that scares people, let them learn.